So as I make friends on the internet, I found another person catfishing me. So as things didn't work out with my long distance girlfriend, I started talking to females about how females treat me and so on and so forth. And then I meet this one female who has a picture, and I knew the picture looked like some kind of celebrity or TV show person, but I kind of said, okay, I complimented the person, and to make a long story short, this person said that they're Italian, and this whole story about how they're from Italy and this, that, and the other thing, and this story about their phone and so on and so forth. So, as me, I'm very suspicious about with catfish and so on. And so, make a long story short, yes, it was a catfish, and she was a black female who resembles some fake TIs I've talked to some months back. It's kind of what I expect, especially since I pointed it out. And when you point things out, the lowly scum try to do those things. So anyway, you remind me of these gang stalkers. It's like when you come across them, when you talk to them, you sort of see what type of people they are. Absolutely, they're the byproducts of Babylon's system. Absolutely, they compound the problem with their philosophies. Because naturally, in society, people are going to struggle with a desire to be selfish, a desire to do, despicable things. And so, I see these people, I'm just going to explore. I don't want to make this more than 5 minutes. I'm just going to explore real quick some of the types of people I see. And absolutely spiritual bottom feeders. Remember, I talked about keep in mind the childish traits. Okay, selfishness, shallowness, materialism, conformity, cowardice, evilness, lies. Satanists, the worst criminals, LGBT, feminists, atheists, racists. Keep in mind all those things. They're on my wall because I know that this is how it is. So anyway, there's the rich females. There's a lot of them. Okay, they're very petty. They're very concerned with their image. Very shallow. Very worldly. Very selfish. Absolutely conformity. Absolutely evil, because the childish traits pretty much go hand in hand with the others. Once you're shallow, you're more likely to be evil. Once you're materialistic, you're more likely to be evil. When you're worldly, you're more likely to be evil. When you're a coward and evil's in charge, you're more likely to be evil. Lies. You're a liar, you're more likely to be evil, and so on. So yes, then there's these ghetto ones. There's gang members and they're females. These kind of petty ghetto bitches who do underhanded shit. They're used to doing underhanded, petty shit to survive, and then give you an attitude when you call them out on it. And also, you gotta realize that these people have been basically psychologically profiled, is the word they use. But really, psychology is always common sense. Do they need to do extensive studies to figure out that the type of people who put together what's going on are the type of people who are good at putting things together, and you can fuck with their head by overloading their environment with things to put together. Familiar faces, Hello? Like I say, you see what I'm saying, man? I get these telemarketers a lot more than the average person. That's part of the noise harassment. You see some of the stuff going on in my videos. You heard the coughing from my mom. You hear the cyber attacks. You see the fucking telemarketers. And this is not a coincidence. When they started hitting me, they started to hit me. And I tell them, take me off their list, and then someone else hits me up, and it's ongoing. And it's a lot of times it's when I'm making a video, or it's at a time when I'm angry. They call me on purpose at a time to agitate. So, it doesn't take a psychologist to figure out annoying phone calls, cyber attacks, overloading the person's mind with things to connect together. And this kind of an attempt to play people out, They're saying, well, this person, he always puts things together. He has a mental disorder and he thinks that there's this great conspiracy and so on. And it's because he puts things together, Ridiculous when we all know that that's how detectives work, right? They look for clues, they piece them together, they get probable cause. That's why they search things and so on. And when you really look at how law enforcement works, it's ridiculous that the tactic they're trying to use will work. But anyway, so it doesn't take somebody who dedicates their life to studying human nature, which for those of us who know better, I've been looking into mental health for 22 years about, and there is nothing in there that shows you how people truly are. There's just a bunch of theories, superficial tests. They talk about introverts and extroverts and just shit that we all know. Yeah, some people, are very outgoing. Some people are more reserved. They put fancy names on things that we already know. But anyway, so they seek out these kind of people that have these childish traits. I'm not a psychologist. I don't have a degree in psychology. But I can tell you, if I'm trying to do what they're trying to do, I'd seek out selfish, shallow, materialistic, conformist, cowardly, evil liars as well. And I'd seek out the, Satanists, the worst criminals, LGBT, feminists, atheists, racists. I know I went over the time, but, I'd seek these people out because I know that, hey, these people have complexes. They are predictable. They are petty. They are worldly. And we control a lot of things in this world. And, I try to influence the people who walk a higher path and try to get them to do what I want them to do. I mean, all this is what you would expect. People started putting it together. I'd try to play them out if I was a lowly dog who couldn't think of a better way. You also got to realize these people aren't that smart. There's this huge misconception. I went to, one of the top high schools in America, okay? I've been to Stanford. I've been to, my older brother went to Stanford, I believe it was, summer school. I've been to San Jose State summer school. I've been to Stanford with my parents. They're having some kind of African club there or something. I've mingled with these people. These people aren't that fucking smart. They're not that perceptive, rather, specifically. They're not that insightful. They're good at conforming. They're very conformist. When you're looking at the people who score well on IQ tests and, IQ tests is more like you understand how to conform. But when you're actually looking at the textbooks, there's a reason why women score better than men on average, and there's more women in college and so on. Because the people whose personality it is to kind of conform, who kind of blend in, they think the way that the people in charge want you to think, they do the best in school, and they struggle, thinking outside the box unless they have obsessed over something. So what you see is you'll see a lot of people scoring well, going through Ivy League schools who don't necessarily accomplish much in life, But then you'll see some people who sort of have their same type of personality, but then they'll obsess with software engineering. They'll obsess with, engineering, with medicine and so on. And they might, in chemistry, they might invent something and so on and so forth. But the way the educational system is set up is so that people who are very conformist, succeed. And so these people, they can, it doesn't take a genius to figure out. What they're doing doesn't take someone who's perceptive. To be a genius in the true meaning of the word really doesn't exist. What you're seeing is people who are talented in different areas. There is no genius. Ironically, I seen, I think it was Google, there was a YouTube video where it said the myth of the computer genius. And they are absolutely right. They are absolutely right. You're looking at people who obsess on programming, who are very conformist. They're very, you look at teachers, right? These are people who are very conformist. They speak to you in a way that reflects their train of thought. Almost always you see that they're very much socially normative, and they impress upon you, ideas of social conformity that they themselves have truly, that is part of their philosophy. So when you're looking at the people in charge, you're not looking at, the reason why I outsmart them all the time is because I'm very perceptive. What I do requires perception and insight. I'm the top martial artist. You can't get there by being a dumbass. Bruce Lee said it best, I believe. He said, I'm not the fastest, but I fight smart. And when you really look into that statement and see what he's getting at, he outsmarts people to get to where he was, and so on. And he came up with his own martial art philosophy. What I do requires perception, insight, and the highest form of intelligence, wisdom, the application of knowledge in a wise manner, wisdom. Okay, what they're doing simply requires money, power, different forms of power, leveraging that power, collaborating with people, putting your heads together, So literally, I outsmart them to, when they put their heads together, I outsmart them. When we talk about the best and the brightest, it's not them, it's me. I am more intelligent than they are, more perceptive than they are, and I'm the top martial artist. So therefore, I am the best and the brightest, especially compared to a bunch of Ivy League ninnies. You should have seen the kind of scum the kind of stupid ideas they had at, web school when I went to in high school. Just complete sissies, ninnies, dumbasses. But they have this sort of way about them, this sort of their philosophy, the way they look at life, the way they think allows them to do well in school. I mean, there's a lot of geeks and they're emotional in a lot of cases, and they couldn't imagine that their boyfriend would cheat on them, and I saw it a mile away, and there was countless examples to this effect, It's always been very obvious to me that just because somebody, has, is whatever you think is smart, is a rocket scientist or something, doesn't necessarily mean that they are this genius that, society would, have you believe. So when all is said and done, what makes somebody superior to another person is spirituality. Are they wise when it comes to the highest form of being, spirituality? What separates us from animals, spirituality, So even squirrels can gather nuts and get all selfish and live a comfortable life and do things in a clever way. But are they spiritual? No. So, it's, anyway, going back to the types, I kind of got off track here, but I had to explore this so you truly understand everything that goes into this video, for the most part at least. Maybe not everything, but most of it. Maybe not even most of it. Maybe it's just, anyway, going back to it, so you'll see the ghetto type, the rich type, you'll see the control freak type, you'll see this kind of insecure type. There's some of those. You'll see everything that makes people want to be a thug. You'll see these types, and when you start pulling somebody's card, all these types react the way, you would expect. They don't like being exposed on that level. So yeah, I definitely do believe I'm superior to the gang stalkers, and that anyone who sees it my way is superior. I do believe that their actions have defined them, that inferior forms of life by their works. Anyone who conforms to the New World Order is inferior. Wisdom is not book smarts. Wisdom is not excelling in education. Wisdom is wisdom, and we know the wise by how they act. And one of the major things that gives it away is whether or not they conform. As soon as you see people conforming, you're dealing with somebody who's, and they're doing well in society. You're dealing with somebody who's clever, or they're educated, or they're obsessed with one thing or another, and as a result, they focus their energy on that. They're doing well, and so on. So what you see is we're building a society of very petty people in places of social control and inferior minds, and we don't see the best and the brightest in the military. We don't see the best and the brightest in the New World Order. We see the most conformist. That's what we really see. And based on their ability to conform and to obsess on one aspect or another of education, quote unquote, you'll see them rising to positions of power or being successful or inventing things and so on and so forth. Thank you. This, my friends, is how it is, whether you want to believe it or not. If they address the problems of the third world, make no mistake, it's only to reach out to selfish souls who would join them and contribute to building their new world order. These are a bunch of yuppie type people who love the misery. They love going to play tennis, going out to dinner, and drinking fine wine and caviar. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that once in a long time, but these people overindulge. They love the way things are. They love the contrast. They love feeling special. They love being the lord of the flies, the lord of the maggots, the lord of the rats. And they don't want a bunch of beautiful beings around them. They want to be the coolest rat around, and they want rats to want to be like them. They don't want rats to want to be leopards and falcons and noble beings. They are scum. There are parallels you can draw.
And then we heard the rumors that the last scientists were working on a cure that would end the plague and restore the world. Restore it? Why? I like the death. I like the misery. I like the war!
So you tell me, who are the madmen? The guy who doesn't want to conform, who talks about social norms and conformity, who tries desperately to change this world, or a bunch of lowly dogs who take advantage of the misery, the death, and the suffering? A bunch of lowly dogs who like Babylonian cultural norms. They like the world that it creates. They like this world. They like this world.
The misery. I like this world!
Think about it, people. A bunch of drug addicts, yuppies, criminals, spiritual bottom feeders, lowly forms of life, feminists. They love this world because only in a world of extreme depravity can a bunch of feminazis rise to power. Only in a world of extreme godless behavior can atheists rise to power. Only in a world of decadence can LGBT sickos with complexes they will never address thanks to the political environment, have the ability to rise to power. Only in a world of evil can the worst criminals and Satanists rise to power. Only in a world of divide and conquer, ninny, sissy shit can racists, eugenicists rise to power. Think about it. They like this world, and you're helping them maintain it. Some of you say, well, why are you so harsh on these people? Maybe they just don't see another way, or I mean, there's always, there's the easy way and there's the hard way. Not working for the New World Order doesn't automatically equate to fucking starving to death. And even if it did, you should still do it. In a world of moral in a world of moral clarity, okay, the problem is they believe in moral relativism. That's the problem. They believe in moral relativism, that morals are only relative to the environment. They are not timeless. There's a time and a place for them, and there's a time and a place to throw them out. Moral relativism. Religious relativism. And so on and so forth. If you do things their way, they feel sorry for you. If you don't, you are their enemy. You are meant to suffer in their eyes. Very contrary to what Jesus teaches. Love your enemies. You see, they can't take the time to try to convince you to do it their way. That is not loving their enemies. That is not loving your enemies. Well, We are a bunch of soulless heathens, and we want you to join us, and so we're going to take the time to explain to you why you should be a soulless, lowly dog as well. What the fuck you call that? It's not loving your enemies. That's leading them astray. That's hating your enemies. The worst thing you can do is teach your enemies a philosophy that makes them a lowly dog. It's not loving them. Loving them would be telling them the error in their ways. Pointing out that, hey, you know what? There's a cliff at the end of that fucking road. Not telling them, you know what, keep driving, who cares about the cliff? It's probably not there. You know, that's just a silly superstition. You know, that's not loving your enemies. For the same reason a parent should be harsh with their child when they do something that demands punishment, perhaps. The same reason, you know, I'm harsh with these people. You really think that if I put it nicely, that magically they would come to my view? These are the people that take kindness for weakness. They don't say, well, he's saying it nicely. Maybe we should consider it. No, 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 no. They say he's saying it nicely. I'm going to take it as a sign that he's lowered his guard and he's trying to reach out to us. Therefore, he is more suggestible than in his previous mind state. You have to understand the kind of scum that I'm talking about. Moral fucking relativism. I mean, are you fucking serious? Yes, they are fucking serious. Don't be surprised when the people who see things that way do what they do. And all the spiritual bottom feeding leads to that. They all challenge the morality of the Abrahamic faiths, which to anyone with even basic common sense knows is correct. And I'm talking about the key principles. Do not kill, do not rape, do not steal, homosexuality is a sin. I mean, the things that you cannot miss. Not things like don't eat shellfish and stuff in the Old Testament or whatever. You know, these aren't the most important things. Okay? You might not be able to keep yourself from lusting. You know, boo fucking who? These aren't the most important things. The things that you lowly dogs promote with your militarism, murdering, with your corporate greed, your crony capitalism, stealing, exploitation of labor, a form of stealing, your LGBT movements, your liberalism, you know, homosexuality, the things that you promote. You know, your rape in fraternities, rape in the military. You infest our churches with lowly rats and wolves, and they rape choir boys and things of this nature. Rape in the Boy Scouts. You're a bunch of scum. Rape in mental health institutions. Rapes in prison. Rape everywhere you fucking look. Because you're lowly dogs. Catfishing, which is a form of rape. If somebody, you know, if somebody sneaks in the night, right? And has sex with your wife and makes her think that it's you, is that not rape? Now, can you not see the similarities between that and catfishing? If somebody has phone sex with a fucking faggot or a fat fucking hag, you know, thinking it's some beautiful fucking woman, is that not a form of rape psychologically and otherwise? I mean, is not the worst part of rape the mental, the psychological part? You know? One might even argue that some women have orgasms during rape. You know, is it not the psychological damage? So therefore, phone sex is a form, catfish phone sex is a form of fucking rape. And I'm not talking about, oh, I thought he was a millionaire. I'm talking about pretending to be someone else. You're a bunch of lowly filth. You know it, I know it, God knows it. And you're indulging in pathetic, stupid shit. Just because you have a bunch of lowly filth to hang out with doesn't mean you're not all swimming in sewage. You're scum. You're weak. You are absolutely weak. I don't care if you are the biggest man on the planet. You are fucking weak. That just means you have even less. The stronger you are, the tougher you are, the less of an excuse you have. Think about it. It's easier for you to do the right thing than a bunch of ninnies. If you're so tough. You're just so greedy that you're not going to use that toughness to do the right thing, now are you? You fucking sissy. I complimented the person, and to make a long story short, this person said that they're Italian, and this whole story about how they're from Italy and this, that, and the other thing, and this story about their phone and so on and so forth. So, as you know me, I'm very suspicious about, with catfish and so on. And so, make a long story short, yes, it was a catfish, and she was a black female who resembles. So as I make friends on the internet, I found another person catfishing me. So as things didn't work out with my long distance girlfriend, I started talking to females about how females treat me and so on and so forth. And then I meet this one female who has a picture, and I knew the picture looked like some kind of celebrity or TV show person, but I kind of said, okay, Avalon system, absolutely. They compound the problem with their philosophies, because naturally in society, people are going to struggle with a desire to be selfish, a desire to do, despicable things. And so, I see these people, I'm just going to explore. I don't want to make this more than 5 minutes. I'm just going to explore real quick some of the types of people I see. And absolutely spiritual bottom feeders. Remember, I talked about keep in mind the childish traits, okay? Selfishness, shallowness, materialism, conformity, cowardice, evilness, lies, Satanists, the worst criminals, LGBT, feminists, atheists, racists. Keep in mind all those things. They're on my wall because I know that this is how it is, So anyway, there's the rich females. There's a lot of them, okay? They're very petty. They're very concerned with their image, very shallow, very worldly, very selfish, absolutely conformity, absolutely evil, because the childish traits pretty much. Some fake TIs I've talked to some months back. It's kind of what I expect, especially since I pointed it out. And when you point things out, the lowly scum try to do those things. So anyway, you remind me of these gang stalkers. It's like when you come across them, when you talk to them, you sort of see what type of people they are. Absolutely, they're the byproducts of